Backyard wakeboard tutorial session 3. This one is dedicated to Richard Bradburn, I think that's right. Dealing with some takeoffs training, also inspired a little bit by Jonathan Roberts. But I've got the handle tied up here at the skate park, wouldn't you know. And I've got a ledge that is in a V shape, hopefully similar to what you would see wakeboarding. So I'm in the dead middle of the wake right here. And then over here, I'm far out. And then let's just say that this crack right here is the top of the wake as I fall, okay? So if I'm cutting in toe side, right here, this mound is the top of the wake. A lot of times with trip flips, people think go, stop, and try to do the flip. I'm going to teach you a couple different things to think about that are going to help you with trip flips, and I'll go over some progressive flips as well at the end. But the first thing to know is it's all a ratio, and this is why tantrums and scarecrows and whirlybirds and crow fives, certain tricks that really need a good trip off the wake, why they look different by different people, different statures, different handle placement, different grabs. But one thing is true, is that when you cut in for the jump, the middle of your cut, you are screaming as fast as you can into the wake, and you're going to have as much of your weight against the boat as possible. I can't do this without falling, I think, slipping. Maybe I'll do it on the board. This is a good idea. So, trust fall onto the handle. Okay, so with that, coolest part about these videos, there's no retakes. We're just gonna keep going. Act like that didn't happen. The trip flip, the closer to parallel your board gets to the top of the wake, the more it's going to catch your board. So the harder it's going to start the beginning of the flip, and the less effort you're going to need to put into finishing it with your body and your head and your knees and the rope. So that ratio is going to be a little bit different for each person, and as you get better at it, you'll be able to learn how to change that ratio based on your objective of the trick. If it's a grab and I know it's going to stall out the trick, I'm going to trip harder off the wake. And I'm going to do that by leaning really hard in the middle of my cut. But I'm not leaning towards the wake. I'm leaning against the rope to get as much tension on that rope as possible and to get the most amount of speed. And then when I get to going up the wake, the amount that I even my weight out on both feet and let the wake trip my toes or my heels is going to then dictate how much I have to make up the rest of the flip with my chin and my eyes and everything looking, or my knees sucking up to my chest. Another thing with my rope snapping I can't show you, but on all of your base inverts, you want the rope at a comfortable length. Not too far away and not too close. It's going to be right there and relaxed. On your first couple flips, you're going to feel the temptation to, as soon as you take off, to pull the rope in. Try to fight that the best you can and really keep that arm relaxed, because there may be a time where you've done the flip. So let's say, all right, I'm doing a tantrum here, so I cut in, boop, I hit the trip. I'm about 3/4 the way around, so my feet are still up in the air and all I can see is water. And that's when I can start to use that handle to my advantage and pull in to speed my rotation up. Scarecrows are a great base invert. I would like to instruct you in scarecrows to the point that no matter what the water conditions or wind conditions or boat conditions, you can do a scarecrow as long as you can get popped off of the water some way, somehow. And it's the rope tension, okay? Because if the rope is center in my body, then I'm able to flip around that. When you notice people get into the scarecrow, they kind of end up like this sometimes. Well, that helps you mix the flip and the spin, that forward rotation and the 180. And then pulling the rope back to your hip is going to be important on that one. But with all of the trip flips, more speed is better than not enough. I would say the perfect amount of speed is always 10% more than you think on those tricks. You want to be sure that you clear that second wake and take that out of the equation. And you're going to think about sticking the tantrum and the scarecrow both like a gymnast right outside of the wake versus trying to hit it like a skateboard quarter pipe and landing down the downside. Now ideally 3 to 5 tries in, you're going to be able to dial it back in to where you're landing right on the downside of the wake. But you really want to take crunching on the landing out of the equation and make sure you have enough air to finish the whole rotation. So my handle broke, so I'm going to have to revisit the progression flips because you definitely need a handle and rope tension the whole time to make those happen. That was a pretty good blooper. You know, anybody who hangs on more than 1 minute and 30 seconds is rewarded.